school in New York, where he became a standout athlete, winning medals in swimming and diving, and was a champion pole vaulter. He then took up boxing, and in 1945 and 46, he entered the Golden Gloves, taking silver in 1946. After high school, he joined the U.S. Marines, and in 1948, he won the U.S. Marines and U.S. Navy heavyweight championship titles. He then turned pro. He fought the likes of Archie Moore, Ezra Charles, Willie Pastrano, and beat the undefeated Charlie Powell, as well as his two memorable bouts against Danny Nardico. Had he defeated Ez Charles, he would have had a shot for the title against Marciano, and maybe Marciano wouldn't have retired undefeated. During the 1970s and 80s, he became a referee for the New York State Athletic Commission, and in 1977, he received New York Downtown Athletic Club Boxing Greats Award, and in 1996 was inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm talking about one of boxing's toughest heavyweight contenders, Charlie, the Bayonne Bomber Norkus. Ladies and gentlemen, Charlie passed away in 1996, and he is survived by many family members, including his son, Charlie Jr., who is here today to accept his award.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My father, Charlie Norkus, was a heavyweight fighter in the 40s and 50s, a top contender chasing Marciano's title, and then later on Patterson's title. Now I could speak a long time about my father, but I know we are really close on time. In today's journal, this wonderful journal that Rick and Don put out, there's a biography of my father. There's also some wonderful photographs from his career. I'd like to urge you all to take a look at that. And there's some links to some of my father's videos that you can put in the computer. They're free, and you see about 8 of his fights. My father's being honored out here in California. You might be wondering why. If you lived in the 50s in California, you know why. It made headlines across the country, not just in California, New York, when he fought Charlie Powell. My father enlisted in the Marines in 1946 out of high school, and was already a successful New York City amateur. He joined the Marines and worked his way up through several titles on the East Coast, and they sent him out here to San Diego to compete in the Naval Olympics. He came away from the Naval Olympics with the United States Navy Olympic heavyweight champion, United States Marine heavyweight champion, and all-service U.S. champion in 1948. He turned pro after that out of Bayonne at the urging of Gus Lesnovich and Ernie Durando. And he quickly forged ahead in the heavyweight division. By 1954, he was a top 10 contender after defeating Danny Nardico twice in Miami, and was booked to fight 6'4", 216-pound Charlie Powell, who was undefeated, 12-0 at the time, and a sure shot for Marciano's title if he got by my father. My father always fought at 194 pounds, and he was 6 foot tall. Rocky was on hand to view that fight, and like I said, Powell was possible to fight for him for the title if he won. Powell was favored 5-1 to beat my father. And this fight was on national television, and my father knocked out Charlie Powell in the 7th round. My father was known for fighting his opponents in their own backyards during his career, like Danny Nardico twice in Florida, Crow Peel twice in New Orleans, Pat McMurtry in Tacoma, Washington, Roy Harris in Houston, and Charlie Powell twice in California, and Archie Moore up in San Francisco. My father was called a ring spoiler because he would go in and defeat undefeated fighters. In 1958, Charlie Powell avenged his loss to my father in San Diego by beating him by unanimous decision. My father returned to San Francisco to fight with light heavyweight champ Archie Moore in a heavyweight contest. It went the distance, and Archie Moore did defeat my father on national television. My father went the distance with 3 world champions in non-title fights, Archie Moore, Ezra Charles, and Willie Pastrano. 14 of my father's fights were on national television during the 1950s. My father retired in '59 with a 33-19 record with 19 knockouts. He was not there to dance with you, he was there to take your head off. After his career, he became a referee in 1974 and was in the 3rd man in the ring in New York for 20 years, doing fights of Buddy McGurk, Jerry Cooney, Michael Dokes. He passed away in 1996 at our home in Wantor. He was married to my mother for 40 years, happily married all those times, and I'm their only child. I would like to thank Ring 8, Veteran Boxers Association in New York, for supporting my father for a long time, especially with an ad in today's journal. The wonderful people there doing wonderful things for retired boxers. I'd also like to thank the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame, who again, they bought a journal ad and they support my father for many years. My father, win or lose, loved California. When I talked to him about his career and the places he's been, he raved how beautiful San Francisco and San Diego was, and that I should go there someday. I did just that in 1990, and without a doubt, it's the most beautiful city I ever been in. My father told me, he goes, when you go to San Francisco, make sure you turn the table cards around at the turntable. And I know for a fact that he was there for a week when he fought Charlie Powell. I think part of his training regimen was turning those cable cars around on the turntable. And though my father had his roots firmly, family and job roots firmly in place in New York, there was no doubt he had California in his heart. I could see it in his eyes when he talked about his visits here, and you made him feel like a son of this state today. It is an honor to have my father's name included with longtime friends Rocky Marciano, Floyd Patterson, Bobo Olson, and Kid Gavilan. I want to thank my good friend Rick Farris, who I met last year online, who told me he was a Charlie Norkus fan, and who's graciously been our host here for my family, who is sitting at table 10. My wife Roseanne, please stand up, Ro. And I'd like to thank Don Frazier for remembering my father here in sunny California and for inducting him into this prestigious Hall of Fame. Thank you all very much.
You know, we're here to honor fighters. Well, we all remembered what happened 11 years ago last month, 9/11. Charlie Norkus is a firefighter, and he was one of those first to respond. He was stationed out of the Hell's Kitchen station. They lost 15 men, and Mr. Norkus, like so many others, is permanently disabled as a result of that. But he was able to come out here to honor us with his presence. So, to a real American and a great fighter, Charlie Norkus Jr.
We all certainly know about the tragedy at the World Trade Center, but I can tell you that New York City firefighters and New York City policemen and the construction workers that we spent time digging up, trying to save the people. I was off that day, but I got there later on that afternoon, and after the towers collapsed. But 15 firefighters from my shift, my firehouse, passed away. I can tell you that in the subsequent months, in the efforts to bring home a lot of these people, we had help. I remember seeing firefighters from San Francisco, San Diego, Sacramento, Fresno, and of course Los Angeles County firefighters who, the cities didn't send them out. These guys and women spent their own money and their own vacation time to come out and help us provide respect for the memorials and funerals to the families. Also, they helped assist in the firehouses throughout the city and to give comfort for loved ones, whether they are firefighters or civilians and families. We are all Americans, and I'm proud of that. And you can be proud of your firefighters here in California because they did assist out there. Thank you very much.